community that believes in the veterans, believes in the military, and I think that's so important. You know, each year around Veterans Day, we all come together, Americans come today, so we can remember those who have served our country in the name of freedom and democracy around the world. The debt to our veterans is immeasurable as we honor the fallen, the people that have given their lives, and some that we know that are family members that have given their lives. We certainly have to take the opportunity to renew our efforts to make sure that we keep the promises, not only to the families that have had fallen soldiers, but also to the veterans that have survived, have served, and are here. In fact, we have about 24 million American veterans, veterans that have served in different wars, and therefore, as a member of Congress, I certainly want to do everything possible, and you know my record when it comes to veterans. In just the last 3 years, if I could just give you a few observations, what we've done for our veterans. In the last 3 years, Congress has increased veterans funding by 60%. This is the largest funding increase that we've had in veterans funding since the funding started in 1917. And this is important because sometimes people become cheerleaders and they say, we're going to do this and we're going to do this. But I think in the last 3 years you've seen that we certainly have put the actions before the words, which are so important. This increase provides an additional $23 billion to help veterans receive care and additional benefits that they deserve, including adding another 8,300 veterans process claims, the people that have to do the processes for those claims, because a lot of times, as you know, Houston, out of all the centers, was the one that has the largest backlog. So what we've done is to hire more processors so they can do those claims on a faster basis to make sure you do that also. One of the other things that we passed also is to help not only the veterans with their benefits, but what about the caregivers? Because I've always said this, that when the parade stops, or the music stops, or the confetti stops falling on the ground, who is going to be taking care of that veteran? When you go home, who's going to bathe that veteran? Who's going to change that veteran? Who's going to feed that veteran? And the caregivers, whether it's a wife or a husband or a family member, we got to make sure that we provide care and support to that caregiver. So therefore, we just passed a law this year, signed into law already, that provides unprecedented new support for our veterans caregivers, first time ever, that will give those caregivers training, counseling, health care, support services, financial assistance to family, and other civilian health, medical. So if you're a caregiver, make sure you talk to your VA officer to take advantage of this new assistance that we're providing to people who get support for our veterans also. Transportation, as you know, we do have to travel to San Antonio. We're providing new services there in San Antonio, but the ones that have to travel, I was able to get $188,000 earmark to buy 6. There's one more coming in January. There will be 7 vans that we have over there to provide transportation for the veterans that have to do it. But my ultimate goal is to provide the transportation. But my ultimate goal is to do what we've done in Laredo and the Valley, and to do this in the smaller rural areas like Frio County. Why is it that we cannot provide vouchers? Vouchers for the veterans for certain services, health services. Why not go to the doctors here so you don't have to travel outside? There are a lot of services that our healthcare providers here in Frio County can provide to the veterans, and it becomes a win-win situation. One, the veterans or the families don't have to travel anymore to San Antonio, and nothing against San Antonio because I represent part of San Antonio, but you don't have to travel over there if we get those vouchers here for our health providers here. And second of all, for our local economy, it becomes a win-win situation because that money that we pay the doctors and the health providers will stay here in Frio County, and money is circulated in our local economy, it becomes a win-win situation, not only for the veterans, for the families, but for our economy here locally also. So that's one of the things that I certainly want to make sure that we make happen and make it happen in our rural area. We also have done a couple of things that I want you to be aware of. Through the economic recovery efforts, we've helped support our veterans and troops through consecutive military pay raises in 2008, 2009, and 2010, and tax cuts for businesses that hire unemployed veterans. So if you're a small business owner, there are tax cuts there, benefits, that if you hire one of the veterans, you'll get a tax benefit also there. So we want to make sure you have transportation. We want to make sure you are provided with the health benefits, not only for the veterans, but also for the families. But there's one thing that I think is going to be very important, and that is to make sure that we also provide the education. As you know, this last year we passed a bill, what we call the new GI Bill. And I know that a lot of the older veterans have taken advantage of the former GI Bill. For the veterans that have taken advantage of the old GI Bill, please raise your hand. Different hands of folks that have taken advantage of the new GI Bill. Well, for the new for the new veterans that are coming in after September 11th of 2001, there's a new GI Bill that will improve what the older GI Bill does. What that says is this: we will provide you 4 years of college if you want to go to 4 years of college. But if you're one of those that has already got an education, and as a father or as a mother, you say as a veteran, you know what, I got my education, but I want to transfer this education benefit over to my child or to my children. Think about that. You can pass it to your spouse, or you can pass it to your children. And I think we as mothers and fathers, what we want to do is improve the lives of our children. And now as veterans, if you already have the education and you want to pass that on to your children, guess what? You can do it under the new GI Bill, and therefore the veteran, the spouse, and the children will be able to get an education, and that will be good for Frio County, and that certainly will be good for our country. So in conclusion, let me just say this. When it comes to veterans, it's not the Republicans, it's not the Democrats what we have to look at. We have to make sure that we look at it as an American. We got to make sure that we set aside politics and partisanship and say what is in the best interest of the veterans. And I ask you to keep this in mind. Actions are important, because there are people that will say that they're going to do things for veterans. And I want you to look at the actions, especially as the new Congress comes in. In the past, we've had cheerleaders. That's fine. But I'm one of those that I believe in the words what Mark Twain said in 1908 when he said, "Thunder is impressive, but it is lightning that does the real work." Which means that sound is important, but it's the lightning that strikes there and the actions that come in. And this is one thing that I certainly want to make sure that y'all keep in mind open and see what happens in the new Congress for the new folks that are coming in, and see what they say. Because people usually say this: cut the budget, but don't cut me. And let's see how fair we're going to be to our veterans, our men and women that have provided so much to our country. God bless the veterans, God bless Frio County, and God bless America. Thank you very, very much.